They keep doing the same thing to you because you keep teaching them the same lesson, the same joke, the same little comment, the same reaction from you. And every time you react the same way, you teach them the same lesson. You think you're pushing back. Everyone else just watched you teach them what still works. People don't always repeat a behavior because they are stronger than you. They repeat it because last time, it worked. Once it works, they stop looking for another way to move you. That's when it becomes a pattern. Not all at once, not with one big attack, but one repeated reaction at a time. Every reaction answers one question. Will this work again? Every reaction teaches people what still works on you. So if you've ever wondered, why do they always know what works on me? This is why. Your sovereignty begins at your reaction. In this video, you'll see 5 ways your reactions keep training people what works. The last one is where the pattern finally breaks. Segment 1. You teach them what gets your attention. The first thing people learn about you is not how calm you are. It is what makes you stop. A small ping, a short message, a sarcastic comment, a random notification while you are locked into something important. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud. Just enough to pull your eyes away. And suddenly, your attention is no longer yours. You stop, you look, you answer. You tell yourself, I'm just being responsive. But from the outside, it looks different. It looks like your priorities are negotiable. I watched this happen during a leadership briefing. David was standing at the front of the room, walking people through an idea he had worked on for weeks. People were listening. He had the room. Then his phone lit up. He glanced down, just for a second. Then he read the notification. Then he replied with 2 quick words, nothing serious, nothing urgent. But when he looked back up, the room had shifted. Nobody complained. Nobody called him out. Nobody had to. The meeting kept moving. But David was no longer leading it. For a few seconds, everyone saw it. His attention left the room first. Everyone noticed. Not that he checked his phone. Checking the phone wasn't the problem. The room just learned how little it takes to pull you away. Now compare that with another man in the same room. His phone lit up too. He saw it, did not touch it, kept speaking. The notification died on the table. Nobody rewarded it. Nobody followed it. Nobody learned that it could interrupt him. Same trigger, different lesson. Most people never notice what everyone else just learned. That message was never the point. It was finding out whether it could interrupt you. Once they move your attention once, they stop wondering if they can do it again. And once they get that proof, they come back through the same door. Nobody needs to study you. You teach them. One small reaction at a time. Nobody figures you out overnight. You show them. One reaction at a time. The small comment gets your eyes. The vague message gets your answer. The disrespectful tone gets your emotion. The tiny trigger gets your attention. Because every reaction teaches people what still works on you. They try it once, it works. So they try it again. Marcus Aurelius understood this long before we did. If someone else decides what deserves your attention, they're already leading it. So the next time the same little trigger appears, do not ask, should I reply? Ask something harder. Why do they always come back to me? Because somewhere along the way, it worked. The first thing you lose isn't your attention, it's your direction. And if they keep coming back, it's probably because they already know what works. So ask yourself, what else have I been teaching without realizing it? Segment 2. They make you defend yourself over small things. Some people never have to prove you're wrong. They only have to make you feel like proving you're right. One small question, one doubtful tone, one comment that lands just hard enough to make you uncomfortable. Are you sure? That doesn't sound right. I remember it differently. And suddenly, you are no longer having a normal conversation. You are defending yourself. This is where most men lose status without noticing it. They think they are clearing things up, but everyone else sees something different. They see a man who can be pulled into defense with almost no evidence. Why do I always feel the need to prove it? Because the moment you start defending yourself before anyone has proven anything, you have accepted the role they quietly handed you. The defendant. Nobody put you on trial. You did that yourself. I watched this happen during a project review. Two men were questioned about the same mistake. The manager looked at the first one and asked a simple question. So what happened? Nothing aggressive, no insult, no direct blame. Just one question. The first man immediately leaned forward. He explained every decision, every delay, every reason it wasn't fully his fault. Then he kept explaining, not because the manager asked another question, because he had already accepted the role of the defendant. The room stayed quiet, not because everyone believed him, because everyone saw how badly he needed to be believed. The question didn't expose him. His need to answer it did. They weren't checking whether he was right. They were checking how fast he'd start defending himself. They want to see whether a small doubt can make you work for their approval. And when you start explaining before anything has been proven, they learn that your image is easier to move than your facts. Then the manager asked the second man the same thing. He answered in 2 sentences. I missed that part. We already changed the process. Then he stopped. No extra defense. No performance. No need to look innocent. The meeting moved on. The question wasn't the problem. The hurry to answer it was. The first man taught the room. If you question me, I'll start proving myself. The second man taught the room. I don't need your approval to answer one question. This is why the behavior continues. They tried a small doubt. It worked. So next time, they won't need a bigger one. Once people learn that, they do not need stronger accusations. They only need smaller and sharper doubts. A raised eyebrow, a vague comment, a half question, a cold, really? That is enough, because you have already taught them the reward. They stop wondering whether you'll defend yourself. They already know you will. Nothing about your reaction surprised them. That's exactly why they'll do it again. But every time you step into defense, they learn more than you think. If one small doubt can change your behavior, what happens when they find the exact point that makes you lose control? Next time, don't rush to clear your name. Ask yourself, why do I always feel the need to prove it? Because if one question is enough to pull you into defense, what happens when they discover the one that always works? The segment 3, they trigger your loss of control. Most people don't need to beat you. They only need to find the one thing that changes you. Sometimes, it's only one sentence. There you go again. Or, relax. That's all. No shouting, no insults, no real attack. Just a few words, and somehow, you're no longer the same person. Picture a family dinner. Everyone is talking. Someone laughs and says, "You always do this." Before they even finish, you answer. Your voice changes. You interrupt. The table goes quiet. Nobody remembers the joke. Everybody remembers what happened to you. That wasn't the moment people judged the conversation. It was the moment they judged how easily you could be changed. Why does this always get me? Nobody remembers every word. They remember the moment you stopped acting like yourself. People who keep using the same trigger are not guessing anymore. They're repeating what already worked. Nobody figures you out overnight. You show them, one reaction at a time. They don't need to know everything about you. They only need to remember what changed your voice. That's why you keep hearing the same comment. Not because they found something new, because the old one still works. Every time one sentence changes your tone, you teach them to use that sentence again. Every time emotion takes over, you teach them where your control ends. They tried it once. It worked, so they never needed a new strategy. Once people know what changes you, they stop experimenting. They just keep using it. The comment didn't become stronger. It just stopped surprising you, and your reaction stopped surprising them. Next time you feel yourself changing, don't chase the argument. Ask yourself, why does this always get me? Because every reaction shows people what still works. Your composure shouldn't depend on their sentence. The moment you lose control, they stop guessing. They already know what works. Marcus Aurelius saw this long ago. The first victory is keeping your own mind. So, ask yourself, what happens the next time they need you to react? Segment 4. They measure how much pressure you can take. Most people don't push you because they're stronger. They push you to find out where you stop pushing back. It almost never starts with one big demand. It starts with something small. One extra favor, one more request, one more joke, one more criticism, one more time you let it pass. Picture a workplace. Ryan is finishing his own work. A coworker walks over. "Can you help me with this?" He says yes. An hour later, another request. The next day, another one, then another. Before long, people stop asking because they need help. They ask because they already know the answer. One afternoon, Ryan finally snaps, "I can't keep doing everybody else's job." The room goes quiet. Nobody looks surprised. Nobody apologizes, because everyone has been watching the same pattern. That wasn't the moment they found his limit. It was the moment they confirmed it. Why do they already know I'll react? People aren't measuring how strong you are. They're measuring how much it takes to change your behavior. Nobody remembers the first yes. They remember the day you finally couldn't say it anymore. Every extra request asks the same question. How much more before he changes? One more favor, one more interruption, one more thing you don't want to do. Will he still say yes? Once they know that, they stop experimenting. Nobody discovers your limit overnight. You show it, one reaction at a time. Every time you stay silent when you wanted to speak, every time you complain but still say yes, every time you explode only after saying yes 10 times, you teach people exactly where your line is. That's why they ask again. Not because they forgot yesterday, because yesterday worked. They pushed once, nothing happened. So next time, they pushed a little farther. Eventually, they stop checking where the line is. They already know. It doesn't feel planned. But it is. They already know how far they can go. Next time the pressure builds, don't count how much you've taken. Ask yourself, why do they already know I'll react? Because every reaction shows people how much more they can ask for. Your limit isn't what you say, it's what you keep allowing. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this differently. Pressure doesn't reveal your limit. It reveals the limit you've practiced. People stop guessing where your limit is. they already know. So ask yourself, what happens when someone realizes you always break at the same place? Segment 5. The reward removal. Why do they always know what works on me? Because you've been teaching them, not with words, with reactions. They never needed to understand you. They only needed to remember what worked. Most people think every situation is different. It isn't. The same move keeps working, so people keep using it. Every reaction answers one question. Will this work again? Every time the answer is yes, they come back. That is why nothing changes. Not because they became better manipulators, because you kept teaching the same lesson. Nobody keeps looking for a better way when the old one still gets results. Nobody keeps pushing where nothing moves. They come back to what moves every time. Every time you reacted, you adjusted to them. They never had to adjust to you. Marcus Aurelius understood this. What you refuse to feed loses its hold over you. The dead button rule. The next time the old button gets pushed, don't think about your reaction. Forget the feeling. Ask one question. What will this reaction teach them? Then follow one rule. Stand still. Let the old button fail. Don't feed it with your attention. Don't feed it with your explanation. Don't feed it with your emotion. Let the old pattern die where it no longer works. That's the moment the pattern breaks. Not because they changed, because this time it didn't work. When the reward disappears, people stop repeating what no longer pays them. The lesson changes. Now, they're the ones who don't know what works anymore. That is the moment control changes hands. Your reactions stop giving directions. Now your consistency does. People don't stop because you ask them to. They stop when the old way stops working. You thought people kept doing the same thing because they were manipulative. The harder truth is this: they kept doing it because it worked last time. Every reaction answered the same question. Will this work again? Every time the answer was yes, they came back. Eventually, they stopped guessing. They already knew what would change your behavior. They never needed to understand you. They only needed to remember what kept working. The moment the old pattern stops working, they lose the only strategy they trusted. Your sovereignty begins at your reaction. Subscribe to Stoic Calm Code. Train the reaction, and the pattern changes. And if you want to see the reactions that make people lose respect for you even faster, this time, watch it differently. Watch the next video. 4 fast reactions that let people push you around. People rarely need more pressure. Most of the time, they're just repeating what already worked.